Hey folks, welcome to Puzzle Spoilers. Today we're taking a look at the Noodling Box. This wooden puzzle box was created by the late great Eric Fuller at Cubic Dissection. This is the African teak and quilted sycamore variant. There was also a lacewood and walnut version released. These came out in late 2022 and only 110 exist. The goal of the puzzle is to find the hidden internal chamber. Before we start solving, let's keep in mind this is a sequential discovery puzzle. That means we're going to discover tools along the way, and those tools will let us progress through the solve. Let me show you how to solve it. Let's take inventory of what we see here on the box. So the box obviously has this drawer-looking piece with this handle. The knob here rotates just slightly, but doesn't seem to do anything. There's a gold metal piece there on the end. We have these lines that go around the complete puzzle, these 4 lines. On one side of the box we have some holes as well. We have 2 holes in the main body here, and on the drawer we see 1 hole right there, which is kind of slightly obscured. And on the back we see a sliding panel which seems to be locked. The first step here is to unlock this back sliding panel. Let's orient ourselves correctly here. We want these 2 holes on the back panel to be in the up top position, just like this. And we will try to slide this panel upwards. We then want to look in the holes themselves, and it's pretty hard to see on camera, but I will shine a light in one of the holes so you can see just slightly. There's a little metal thing in there, and it's a little ball bearing, and you're going to see a ball bearing in either just one of the holes or both of the holes. I currently only see something underneath this hole. We want to kind of slightly shake and rotate the puzzle to the left. You're going to hear some things moving around in there. Now these ball bearings look a little different than a small metal rod. There's a very thin metal rod that you might also be seeing. We're not worried about that at this point as much as we are those metal balls. So you want to get to a point where you see a metal ball in each hole, and you might have to make movements to the left and right, just subtle movements back and forth until you get to that point where you have 1 ball here and 1 ball here. At this point you can put some upward pressure on this back plate and it should slide up just slightly. If your back plate still is not moving and you have a ball here and a ball here, there is a metal rod that might be obscuring one of these holes, and you might see it or you might not. It's very hard to see, but just keep very slightly going left, right, back and forth. And if you have to, just give it very light taps or very light shakes as you're going back and forth. Eventually, you should be able to move that back plate upwards. These 2 holes will realign, and on this side, we're going to see something metal in there, and this is going to reveal our first tool, a little metal pin. Let's put this down for a moment. If you're having trouble with this sliding panel, I made a diagram here to show what I think is going on within the mechanism here. These 2 openings represent the 2 holes here in the panel. We can see in there, but the metal ball bearings cannot come out. The ball bearings are free to move from the left to the right, and the mechanism is only solved when both of the ball bearings are in these channels on either side. They have to be in that position on both sides in order for the movement to be released in the panel itself. Now this is further complicated by this pin, which is represented by this thick dark line. The pin also moves left and right and can prevent the ball from going into the channel. So it might look like you have a ball bearing solved on the left and the right, when in fact only this one might be fully set, and this one is not fully inserted because it's blocked by this pin. So in this situation, you'd want to very slightly rotate the puzzle to the right. The puzzle is designed in a way so that with a very slight movement to the right, this pin will drop, but this ball won't necessarily go to the other side. So you'll have the pin drop down to the other side, and that will open up the channel here. Then the ball on the left here will be free to move into this chamber right here. It's not too difficult actually. You might solve it by accident just by moving the puzzle left and right continuously and trying to move the panel periodically. All right, let's move on to the next step. We want to make sure to keep this back panel in the open position for this step. So just keep some pressure on it with a finger. And we want to hold the puzzle now so that these two holes are pointed down. There will be a gravity element here, so we need to make sure that the puzzle is oriented correctly here. Next, we want to put some inwards pressure on the drawer piece. So just push a little bit in with one finger, and then very slowly you want to move the back panel upwards while pushing in on the drawer. And once you do that, there will be a point at which the drawer pushes in slightly and becomes flush with the outer casing. The back panel will sort of be stuck in place at this point, so you don't have to worry about that too much. Then we want to pull outwards on the drawer with a little bit of pressure. That will put a gravity pin into the correct position, and we can see if we've solved that step because now we see a small silver metallic piece underneath this hole here, which we did not see before. In the next step, we'll be using our pin as a tool. We're going to put the pin into this hole here, the one that's closest to the back panel. The back panel can close at this point. It might kind of stay slightly open. It doesn't really matter. We'll want to put some pressure down on this pin. It's pushing some inner mechanism down. And then we want to pull the drawer out. This can be a little difficult, so you want to put some good pressure on this drawer, and you might find that you lose your pin and it could fall into somewhere inside the puzzle here through that hole. If that happens to you, don't worry. So the drawer is pulled out slightly, it's not pulled out completely. The next step is to take a finger and put it inside the drawer and push upwards to release this secret panel, which is held in by a magnet. And that comes out completely. And that gives us access to a little more information here. We see that this back panel, which seems like is the back of the drawer itself, might lead to something else behind here. We can hear something kind of shaking around in there. Now, if you still have your pin, I'm going to show you the next step. If you don't, there is a workaround, so just stick with me for a moment. So let's take our pin and look at the underside of the drawer, and we will be using this hole right here. Let's put the pin inside of that hole. We're going to push down with a little bit of pressure, and then we want to rotate our knob as we're pushing down counterclockwise. You'll make just a very slight counterclockwise movement. You'll feel something release in the knob, and at that point you can pull out this pin, put it somewhere safe, then turn the puzzle over. Now do this next step over a surface where you'll be able to catch something or see something. You'll want to keep turning this knob counterclockwise. And there we go. We saw this smaller pin which dropped out of that same hole. This small pin was trapped inside here. So now we have a small pin and we still have our original larger pin. Now let's turn the puzzle back into this orientation. And we will be using our small pin at this point. We'll notice a very small hole here in this back portion of the drawer. We can use this small pin to insert it into that hole and pull up just slightly, and then we'll be able to pull the drawer out a little bit further. Let's give it a shot. There we go. That wall has been pulled up. Now we can pull the drawer backwards. And there we go. A secret compartment has been revealed, and there's something in there. Let's take a look. Here's our prize. It's a little bag with a little goldfish in it. Now this seems to be a nod to the name of the puzzle, the Noodling Box, And I didn't know this before, but apparently noodling has a couple of definitions. One of them is fishing with your bare hands, which is a fitting title for this puzzle. Here's an important thing to appreciate here. Here's Eric's signature and the original release date. So you might be wondering what you do if you did lose your bigger pin in this hole in one of those first steps. And remember, you need that big pin to get to the little pin, which is locked inside of this hole on the drawer itself. Now, thankfully, you can pretty easily move this hidden wall with your fingers. You don't really need that tiny little pin in order to move it up. So I'll show you here what that looks like. You'll just put a thumb in here and with a little bit of pressure, pull upwards and then pull out with the drawer at the same time, and you have achieved the same solution there. Now you might be wondering how to get your pin back after you've lost it. The puzzle does need to be in the fully solved position before you can do this. You can get the pin back via this channel on the bottom of the puzzle. It has to be this left channel. It doesn't come out of the right side. So you need to rotate the puzzle to the left like this and then towards you. Give it a little shake and eventually it'll drop out of that channel. All right, let's do some reassembly here. First, we'll take our goldfish and put it back into the secret chamber. Then we can use our fingers or that small metal pin, then pull upwards on the back wall here. And then you want to keep it in the up position. There's a magnet that keeps it down. So keep it up with your thumb and a little bit of pressure, and then push inwards on the drawer just a little bit, and then you can let go of it. Before you push the drawer all the way back in, let's put our small pin back in. So let's turn the puzzle over. Now, depending on if you did more rotations on this knob piece, you might have to do this step, you might not. If your knob is completely locked up, then we do need to unlock it again. So if that's the case, take your thick pin and we'll insert it into that hole. Apply some pressure, turn counterclockwise till you hear that click, and it's just a slight counterclockwise turn. Then pull out the thick pin. Then we can take the small pin, put it in that same hole, drop it in, and then make more counterclockwise rotations here until it drops all the way in. And then if you keep going, eventually the knob will lock itself up and it'll be back into its original position. Now we can take our cover here and put it back in, and those seams completely disappear there. Now we can slide our drawer completely back in until you hear that click. Now let's turn the whole puzzle over so that we see these two holes. Now we want to reset this gravity pin. If you see the small silver piece in there, that means the puzzle is not reset yet. And if your back panel is not solved, you will need to go ahead and solve that again so that it's in the up position, just like this. Then put inwards pressure on the drawer as you drop your back panel down. And eventually the drawer will go in just a little bit more, and you'll notice that that silver piece has disappeared. That's a good sign. Now we can pull outwards on the drawer. We want to hear that click, and it's locked up now in this position. Now we can take our big pin and put it back into the back panel, just like that. And then we can drop down our back panel and then do a couple spins here to lock up the back panel. And now we are back to our original unsolved position. There has been some discussion online about skipping steps on this puzzle, and we went through the step where we skipped getting the smaller pin, and that one was pretty obvious. It's very easy to pull up that interior panel with a thumb or a finger. Some others have also claimed they can get this drawer open without using that pin in this hole here. I haven't been able to force anything open. Cubic Dissection has confirmed that you should not force anything, and if there is a workaround to open this drawer, that was not an intentional workaround. As a reminder, with any puzzle, always be gentle, never try to force anything. You could damage the internal mechanisms, and we wouldn't want to damage something as rare as this. The design of this puzzle is really unique, really interesting, clearly well made. This is a testament to Eric's body of work. He will be missed, but his puzzles will live on and be enjoyed by countless people and into the future generations. I was fortunate enough to get a lot of Eric's puzzles over the past couple of years, but I'm still looking for a lot of his earlier works, particularly his puzzle boxes and sequential discovery puzzles. Unfortunately, they become very expensive and hard to obtain. If you have any of his puzzles that you'd be willing to loan for a short period of time, I'd be interested in showcasing those puzzles on this channel. Send me a message or leave a comment below if you have anything. The only place to buy one of these now is to keep an eye out on the auction sites. I'll put the names of a few of my favorite auction puzzle websites below. If you found the video interesting, please consider liking and subscribing. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. That's it for today, folks. I'll see you on the next video.